Welcome back to BetterAvecBourbon. Today, to celebrate this upcoming Juneteenth, we'll be making the All Right cocktail from Tom Bullock's The Ideal Bartender, the first cocktail book published by an African American. For ingredients, we'll need pre-prohibition rye whiskey, so I'll use Old Overholt, Angostura bitters, and dried curacao. I've chosen Ferrand, as although it's a more recent creation, it's styled after pre-prohibition curacao. This cocktail follows a similar formula to other classics like the Manhattan and the martini, but instead of a stiff drink, we get something a bit sweeter and brighter. Gather all of your ingredients, and let's get to it. First, let's cover some history. Tom Bullock was a black bartender in the pre-prohibition era. Born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1872, he was the son of Thomas Bullock Sr., a former slave who fought for the Union Army. Bullock was a bartender at several establishments, including the Pendennis Club in Kentucky, the Kenton Club in Portland, and most notably the St. Louis Country Club, just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. He was the first black bartender to publish a cocktail book, The Ideal Bartender, which was published in 1917, 3 years before Prohibition. For my non-American audience, Prohibition was a very sad period in American history where they were prohibited from drinking until 1933. The importance of this book is it lets us know what the drinking culture was like during the golden age of cocktails, and also get a sense of what drinks he was serving that were so good, he had high roller regulars such as Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, and George Herbert Walker, the namesake of his grandson George H.W. Bush, and his son George W. Walker and Bullock were good friends, with Walker writing the introduction of this very book, saying there's no better mixologist regardless of race, and since this was in 1917, you better believe he was good. His drinks were so legendary that they were at the center of a libel case involving Ted Roosevelt and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He disputed claims that they had made about his drinking because Roosevelt said he only had a few sips, and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch countered it, saying nobody leaves a Bullock cocktail unfinished. Bullock died in 1964, but his legacy lives on thanks to this book, so I'm going to make what I believe to be a Tom original, the All Right cocktail. Get your bar mat. The recipe calls for shaking the cocktail, but nowadays we typically only shake cocktails with citrus or egg in them, so I'll make it using a mixing glass as well. So I'll also need 2 of what he calls cocktail glasses, which would be shallow coupe glasses like so, and let's get them chilled by filling with ice and setting to the side or even in the fridge. Jumping into the recipe, we need 1 dash of Angostura bitters. I'll do 2 since the dashes are quite small out of bitters bottles. Next, your dried curacao. Now, I have a confession. I messed up the directions and interpreted 2/3 of a jigger as 2/3 of an ounce, whereas a jigger is seen as the big end, which measures 1.5 ounces. So 2/3 of a jigger would actually be 1 ounce, the more you know. So I use a shade under 3/4 of an ounce of dried curacao, but it's in proper proportion to the whiskey, so we should be all square. Once you've added 2/3 of a jigger of dried curacao to each, measure 1 jigger of rye, which should be 1.5 ounces, and add it to your mixing glass. Followed by your tin. Then add a scoop of ice to your tin and shake for 10 seconds. As well as a scoop of ice to your mixing glass and stir for about 30 seconds. And strain your cocktail. The mixing glass version is more of what you'd expect for a spirit-forward drink, in that it's relatively transparent, whereas the shaken version is a bit cloudy and perhaps a shade over-diluted. We'll blame the ice I used, not Tom. So let's try the stirred cocktail first so we have a reference point. There's an orange sweetness up front, with a rye finish at the back, and a slight tang of molasses and nutmeg finish. Really good, and honestly I look forward to having it again. For the shaken version, it's definitely more refreshing. It makes more sense that this would be something you'd reach for after a game of golf, if you're not looking for too much sugar. There's a toffee-like finish that makes for a sweeter overall orange flavor, and something that goes down a bit too easy. I like the stirred version a bit better, but if you don't like as stiff of a cocktail, the shaken will hit the refreshing notes you're looking for. Thanks everyone for watching. Do you have a go-to pre-prohibition cocktail? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, hit that like button, press subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.